Hey, what's going on? I want to take a quick look at some quarterback rankings for the fantasy football year 2016. We got these tiered out. It's not exactly a ranking system like 1 through 10, who's the best. It's just quarterbacks that you should reach for. When I say that, I mean like first round, second round. It's hard to quarterback's such a deep position. It's hard to spend a high draft pick grabbing a quarterback. I think Cam Newton and Rodgers is worth that risk. Cam Newton in the first round, I wouldn't have a problem with. He's going in the second, and I'm seeing Rodgers drop to late second, early third. I've got no problem spending on these two guys for that. I think they're good enough, especially Cam's year last year. We're going to see some regression. He won't have that same kind of stat line, but he's going to do enough. Rodgers is going to do enough with Jordy Nelson back to carry a fantasy team. You can build around this piece, and that's what it makes it worth going for a quarterback early. Is you have to be able to build around him because every other position takes a hit. Where you're going to get your receivers at is 1 round later. Your running backs are 1 round later. So Cam Newton and Aaron Rodgers, I think, is worth that risk, worth going for. If I didn't get one of those two, I'm going 6th round or later for my quarterback. It's just too many to choose from. With that said, if you can get Andrew Luck, Big Ben, Brady, Wilson, or Breeze, I don't think there's a reason to carry a second running quarterback on your roster. Outside of his bye week, you don't have to worry about that. Now, with Brady, you got the obvious problem of the first 4 weeks of the year. He's going to be suspended, and that's you can't spend a high draft pick on a quarterback that's going to miss 4 games. But Brady's going in the drafts I've seen 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th round. At that value, you're getting an elite quarterback for the last 10 games of your fantasy season, regular season, and possibly playoff Super Bowl. So you have to pair him with somebody, but there's a list of quarterbacks to do that with. If you're not lucky enough to get one of these top 7 players, it's still a lot of options. Just going down it, you've got Phillip Rivers. He's a 28, 26 touchdown guy every year. He's never respected in fantasy for the past 3 or 4 years, but he's always good enough to service a team. You got the young guys, Mariota and Bortles. Bortles last year was fine as a plug-and-play bye-week replacement on the 1-day fantasy leagues. Bortles is always a dangerous play. He was relatively inexpensive, but he's good enough if you could pair him up with another quarterback and play matchups. That Jacksonville offense is coming along pretty nice. Hearns and Robinson give it some weapons. Adding Ivory this year. They've got a nice little team, and you can take advantage of it by getting Bortles. On down the list, we have Dalton, Andy Dalton. Once again, every week he's a threat for 250, 300 yards and a couple touchdowns every week. It's not a high price tag to get him. He's late round. Matt Ryan, I don't see as being a problem. He's fallen off. Last year was his worst year yet. I don't expect him to return to an elite quarterback, but I do think he's a threat for 25 touchdowns plus. Maybe he could push 30 touchdowns if things start going right for him. He's got Julio Jones, one of the best in the game. Devontae Freeman. Got a good little offense around him. And if I'm once again platooning him, any of this third tier of quarterback, I'd like to get 2 of them so I can play matchups a little bit, but I trust him enough for that. Stafford, same thing. Losing Calvin Johnson's hurt him considerably. I am curious. I like Amir out the backfield. I like Golden Tate. I think he's going to. Lions are going to still be behind in games. He's going to have to throw. I'd like to have him on. If I can't get one of these top 7 guys, I'm fine with Stafford being one of my 2. With all that said, of this third tier of quarterbacks, I'm really targeting Eli and Romo. Eli throws the best receiver in the game, arguably. He doesn't get any credit. Another guy who's always low in the rankings, but consistently 20-plus touchdowns, 4,000 yards. He's dangerous. He doesn't always play that great in the league, but fantasy-wise, he's a consistent point getter. And Romo's the other guy. Should be a shoe-in for 25-plus touchdowns. Has a great offense around him. Going to throw the ball. I would have no problem I almost moved both those guys up to my solid list. If I had Eli or Romo, especially if I could get two of these guys, if I could pair them up or get them both, I would feel really comfortable with the quarterback position. Eli and Romo are two quarterbacks I think that's going to lead a lot of teams into the playoffs in fantasy, just based off the team you're going to be able to build around that spot. Romo and Eli, I think, are going to be pushing 17, 18 to 20 points a game from the quarterback position in a standard scoring league, point for 25 yards, 6 for a touchdown. And the late round, 6th, 7th round for a quarterback means you're going to be able to bring in a couple receivers, a couple running backs to pair up with them. I like the play. That's probably what I'm aiming at. Romo and Eli is what I'll be doing with my personal teams. Though, once again, Cam and Rodgers, if somebody wanted to reach for that, I'm okay with that. I think it's a smart play. I think they're good enough to carry your team. But when you go early quarterback, you need to get the guy that can carry your team. You need to get a guy that's going to push for 30 points a game, because every one of your positions takes a hit when you go quarterback early like that, especially when it's this deep. Everybody's going to get a quarterback. Everybody's going to have a guy who can score points week in and week out. So to make a reach at this position, it has to be worth it. I believe Cam Newton and Rodgers are worth it. Everybody else, I'd let them fall to me. I would start considering some of these solid guys, Luck, Ben, Wilson, Breeze, maybe 4th round. If they were there in the 4th round, I'd consider it 5th round maybe. Depends on how my team's looking, but I could see spending a 4th round pick with some of these guys. And then obviously your 3rd tier, I'm just waiting to the 6th, 7th round, and I'm going to try to go back-to-back, 6th and 7th, grab a couple of these guys, and really fill that position up with depth if I can't get a top guy there. But most teams are going to get a guy. You know, just counting Eli and Romo, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got 9 quarterbacks that I think you're going to be fine with. So 3 people are going to get left out, and still a whole group of names to pair up together, try to platoon that spot. Either way, want to take a quick look at it. Like always, man, like the video, share it, and we'll have another one up next week. Appreciate it, fellas. Later.